Hi, my name is Josh Carter, and I'm doing the interview for you guys at Colorado Ridge. Um, I had my beautiful fiance Jill over here. She's going to ask me the questions today. That way, you can get some honest answers out of me, and there was no studying or writing things down. I'm just going to answer them straight up for you guys. Um, this is Murphy, our mutt dog, uh, classic Texan cow dog right here. And just a little backstory on Jill and I, and we're engaged. I finally put a ring on it, and we met at a church camp that I was leading worship at about 4 years ago now, and she was front row every day. She was there, and eventually she won my heart, I guess you could say. We're getting married in about 30 days now, and we're super excited and excited about what God has planned for us in the future. And I guess we're going to start this interview for you.
Tell us about the last two people you have personally led to Christ. How did this come about?
Um, the ones that stand most, I guess, vividly on my mind would be uh, there was a time that a couple of friends and I were at an IHOP eating, and the waitress at the IHOP had come up, and we just started kind of asking her how her day was and talking to her about life, and just starting to explain to her, why we had the joy that we had in our lives. And eventually that led to us talking about Christ, and she explained a lot about some of the hardships she had had, that she was now a single mother with just a little baby girl, and was living by herself and working at IHOP to just try to get by and pay for this child she had. And so she said she'd been having just a lot of real hardships with people in her lives, and just felt like there was a lot of spiritual things just weighing her down. So we had the opportunity to pray for her, and bring her to church that Sunday, and she prayed to accept Christ, and prayed over her house, and for her little daughter, and it was a really cool experience. The other one's more personal with me. Uh, I would I would say for sure, because it's my mom, and in her case it's very interesting. My whole family is actually from England. They're from London, and just south of London as well. Most of them still live there, other than my mom and my grandma, who are here in Texas, and um, they for a long time have lived that same lifestyle of, you know um, the atheist, and if you believe there's a God, then why do these things happen in the world? Because my grandma herself lived during World War II and experienced a lot of what was going on during that, and the bombings and raids in London, and just saw a lot of bad things, and just having to walk through that and explain to them, um, that God is still good, and that He is in control, and that man's sin is is uh, is the main issue. Um, I've had both of them at one point pray to accept Christ, and my mom being someone who is constantly being reminded of that, to where she's probably prayed to accept Christ like 3 times, but has actually started to see, you know, uh, some growth now, to where she is um, experiencing God and seeking Him, and trying to actually have Him be a part of her life, to pull her away from the things that are pulling her down. And that's definitely the prayer for my family that we have. So what's the next one?
Tell us your philosophy of worship. I can't say this word, Josh.
Specified.
Specifically as you apply to leading. Can I restart that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just go ahead.
Can you edit it?
No, I'm not going to.
I'm not doing this. You have to start over.
No. We got this. Don't you worry. What is it? Specifically as it applies to leading a congregation on Sunday morning, what is your approach, and what does it look like beyond just playing and singing a song? You guys are giving loaded questions. What does it mean to lead worship outside of just playing music, and what does it mean to lead a congregation? Well, the most important thing as a worship pastor slash worship leader, whatever you want to title it as, is the idea of pastoring and leading is the main goal. You're there simply put to lead people to the throne of God, to where they can experience God in that moment. It isn't necessarily about how good the music is, or it's not a show for sure. It's definitely just about leadership. The main goal in leading music is not about me standing there. It's about me leading others, in the focus of it. I am now serving the Lord and serving this group of people who has become my church family, or for even if it's just for that moment, um, that we could connect with God together. My approach, my main goal is to in picking songs, or writing songs, or just in the style of how I do it, is just to hope that I'm doing it the right way, that people can truly connect with it in a very personal way. Um, and everyone likes different things, but just trying to make it to where I feel as though I'm being led by God to lead this specific group of people. Um, and in that, it's the lyrics of the songs need to completely reflect God and His love and who He is, and what He's done and what He's doing. Um, and then as far as the music style, just being led by God of where He's leading me in that, for this group of people. I've had the opportunity to lead in churches from Lutheran, Methodist, Baptist to Assemblies of God, non-denominational, and charismatic. And it's been an incredible experience to do that. And in that, I've really gotten to see who God is, to many different people in their own unique way of how they interact with God, and who, who they are as a group of people and as a family. And that's the thing. For a while, this relates a lot to, in my emails. I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but for a time I was out doing pop music, and kind of playing, out in the secular world. And the thing is that what I came to learn is that God gave me a gift, to worship Him in in through music. And because of that, when I was out just playing music and it was simply just to entertain, I never seemed to find the joy in it that I did when it was a time to serve others and to serve God and leading others and being able to interact with God on my own personal level, in worship. And I just became miserable to it, and it wasn't fun anymore, because the thing that really drives me and feeds me is to be able to be filled with the Holy Spirit, and in God's presence, in leading others, and interacting with them, that they could be meeting God in the same way, and that we could be interacting together in the presence of God, and learning, more about who He is, and following His heart and learning His heart. And without that, like, that's what drives me. It's not just about playing the music, and sure, playing music can be fun, but if I was just playing music, I would get tired and worn out, and I wouldn't find the love for it that I have when, outside of just leading in music. If I don't have the opportunity to have good conversations with people, and interact with people on a personal level, I just don't feel like I'm doing what I'm called to do. And I hope that kind of answers the idea of that question of my approach to worship. To sum it up, it's about meeting God, following His heart, and having a prayerful heart, so that He can lead you, and that we can listen to Him.
Worship Ministries at Colorado Ridge is very much about leading teams. Tell us about some teams that you have led. How did they excel? How did they struggle?
I've had the opportunity to lead a few worship teams, or praise teams, however you want to phrase that, from when I was younger, doing the youth groups with young kids, and leading them up and helping them musically and spiritually to understand what it means, to be a leader and to lead worship. And then also now, with many adult groups, and just leading them in in the same things musically and spiritually, and just interacting on a level of relating to each other in our lives, and relating that to who God is and following His heart. And outside of that, I was a golfer in high school and a little bit in college, and I had the opportunity to be a leader in some of those teams, spiritually and just in general. And that was really exciting uh, to see the way that people would interact on that level with when you're being a spiritual leader outside of just church. Um, and also even with music, in the sense of when I had the opportunity to travel some and play at church camps, like where I met Jill, and have musicians who are friends, but also, I guess, employed by what we were doing, and they're paid musicians, and being a part of leading that team, and helping them grow. They're doing what they love and what they feel called to do, and that was really exciting. And one of the really cool things that happened last year was actually in, I guess Jill's phone's going on up there, but with she's a busy girl. She has a lot of people who want to get a hold of her. But actually, with Jill's softball team last year, both Jill and I, she was a college softball player until she basically tore her shoulder out. But um, we got the opportunity to together help lead, people, and have very deep conversations with people, about Christ, and people who are struggling with a lot of things, from just the way they grew up to, dealing with homosexuality, and or just finding out who they are and if God is real. And uh, it was really exciting, and it really gave us a lot of passion for just being a part of those kind of groups, and being able to be leaders there.
Tell us about a period in your life in which you were broken. How did you see God in that?
Um, there's, I guess, well, there's been a few times, but I would have to say one of the biggest ones. There was a year of my life when I was in college that I uh, I saw both of my parents basically, where they're on their deathbed, and close to death, or thought maybe at one point were dead, and revived by the medical teams, or whatever. And with my dad, it was just a freak accident, and uh, it was just a freak accident, and he was type 2 diabetic, and the doctor told him that he would be fine as long as he was taking his normal medication and didn't need insulin shots and stuff. And turned out he did, because eventually he got so sick that it almost killed him, and his blood sugar was like over 500, and went into diabetic shock. And it was just me and him on vacation, actually, and we went to the hospital together on Christmas that year, and he was in the ICU. And just seeing him in that, this man that I'd never seen really even sick or cry or anything, just weak, and uh, just so close to, you know, the just seeing the frailty of life. And then my mom was before a few months before that. My mom, a lot of the reason why this was the time that I was broken is because she was, and sometimes still is, suicidal often, to where she'll call me and tell me that's where she's at right now, that she's questioning her existence on this life, or to where she's been taken to the hospital before from trying to overdose. And this last time, um, the time I'm talking about, right before what happened with my dad, was I think she was having alcohol withdrawals and had some seizures, and it put her in the hospital. And a couple of friends and I from college went and visited her and played songs for her and just hung out with her, and just experiencing sometimes what it means to, have a parent that isn't always a parent. And that was a very broken time in my life, to just realize that the frailty of life, and that, things get hard. And it was good though. So, and had to deal with that, and learn from God. And luckily right now it seems like they're both healthy, and